Tonight is the special Winter is Coming edition of Aew Dynamite on TBS, as well as HBO Max. The show is emanating from the Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got the AEW World Championship on the line, as well as history being made as the inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions will be crowned, plus the Continental Classic is set to continue, plus much more. With that being said, being one of AEW's biggest episodes of the year of their flagship show, could Tony Khan and his team have some major surprises up their sleeves? We're going to let you know 5 possible major surprises that could take place tonight live on AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And as I mentioned in the intro, tonight is the special Winter is Coming edition of AEW Dynamite. The show is set to emanate from the Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. There are so many matches that have already been announced for the show. Titles on the line, inaugural champions being crowned, the Continental Classic continuing, plus rivals turned tag team partners and much more. So could Tony Khan, with one of AEW's biggest shows of the year, have some surprises up his sleeve? We're going to let you know 5 possible major surprises that could take place, beginning with the aforementioned AEW World Championship. Yes, Winter is Coming. Seemingly will be headlined. We don't actually know. It could be the Women's Tag Team titles that we're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But it looks like it's going to be headlined by the AEW World Championship. This match has been booked for the last couple of weeks. The world is cold. We're now into winter, at least on this side of the world. Maybe not so much in Australia, but the world is cold. You better bundle up, because Eddie Kingston's opening theme song, of course, says you better bundle up, and indeed you better, because it looks like we're going to be having a fight for the AEW World Championship at Dynamite. Winter is Coming. Kingston will challenge Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship. And this comes after they've traded harsh words in recent weeks following the Ops screwing over the former champion Hangman Adam Page at AEW Full Gear in that steel cage match, giving Joe the AEW World Championship, becoming a 2-time AEW World Champion in the process. And for the first time, he's set to defend his title in his second reign with it against Eddie Kingston at Dynamite. Winter is Coming. Now, of course, last week they had the face-off, the confrontation, the head-to-head, whatever you want to call it. And Eddie Kingston urged Samoa Joe to leave the Ops at home. He said that he wanted Joe to bring the intensity and the integrity he carried as the Ring of Honor World Champion in the 2000s to their fight tonight in Atlanta, Georgia. But despite Kingston's best wishes, I think that the Ops most likely will probably be around, with some members of the Ops preoccupied with matches of their own this evening, which we'll talk about in just a bit. Can Samoa Joe complete his first successful defense of the AEW World Championship without the help of his teammates? But importantly and notably, Hook, the same person who cost Hangman Page, turned heel at AEW Full Gear, is not announced for a match tonight at Winter is Coming. While he has pledged his allegiance to the Ops once more, with Joe leading the helm, does he have unfinished business with Eddie Kingston from their time as a tag team? Will he make his presence known at some point in Joe and Kingston's clash? Now, this is quite interesting, actually, when it comes to this AEW World Championship match. The reason I say it's quite interesting because look, we know the outcome. Samoa Joe is going to still be the AEW World Champion. Samoa Joe, I know there is a bit of a theory going around that maybe Joe is going to be a bit of a transitional champion. Samoa Joe has been quite open about not having too long left in his career, and that this contract will probably be his last one. He's going to finish up his career in AEW. So the fact that you would put the AEW World Championship on someone that's going to be retiring in the not too distant future, I mean, maybe it's a year or two, a couple of years, it does likely say that maybe he's going to be a transitional champion, and maybe it is just a case to get the AEW World Championship on a Swerve Strickland or something like that, and then they're going to have Hangman and Swerve go at it for the bout, or maybe they're going to wait until Will Ospreay comes back. There's lots of different directions that they could go in. But despite him being possibly a transitional champion, I do not think he's going to drop the championship in his first defense on television against Eddie Kingston. I think it's just a big main event that AEW wants to do to pop a number. In addition to that, it's a special episode of Dynamite, and these special episodes of Dynamite usually have sort of big matches, big main events, world titles on the line. And tonight, Dynamite is Winter is Coming is no different. So the world title will be on the line, but Joe is going to retain. I think what really will happen here, and this is why it is quite interesting, is from early on, when Hook started calling out, when Eddie Kingston rather started calling out Samoa Joe, he actually said, I don't have a problem with Hook. I don't have a problem with what Hook did at Full Gear. What I have a problem is the ops whispering in the ear of Hook. He said, look, Hook's his own man and Hook's going to make his own decisions, but I've got a problem with the ops sort of misguiding him and taking him down the wrong path, but I don't have a problem with Hook. Remember that Hook's been alongside Eddie Kingston since Kingston returned from his injury at AEW All Out. Of course, the injury that kept him out for over a year of his career, and Hook's been alongside him ever since. But I think the way this one's going, it seems pretty obvious, isn't it? I think Hook probably cost Eddie Kingston the match, and they end up working against each other at some point down the line. Maybe they have a match at AEW World's End. I think that's the direction that it's going in. So even though Eddie Kingston says he doesn't have a problem with Hook, I think coming out of this match this evening, he will have a problem with Hook. He won't win the AEW World Championship, and he'll blame Hook for costing him the match. I think that's where it goes. Or it's a case of Joe beats Eddie Kingston cleanly, but out of direction from the ops and from Samoa Joe, Hook then locks in Red Rum or something like that on Eddie Kingston and chokes him out. And before we move on to the next number on this countdown list, a reminder, this video is brought to you in collaboration with all of our great affiliates, and that includes NordVPN. Now, outside of AEW, it's a massive week of pro wrestling, isn't it? Of course, this Saturday, it is Saturday night's main event over in WWE, and it is John Cena's retirement match. John Cena will be having the final match of his professional wrestling career. And whether you're an AEW fan or a WWE fan, John Cena, someone who has transcended the pro wrestling industry, they've even paid tribute to Cena via Adam Copeland on AEW programming, and several AEW stars have had legendary rivalries against John Cena. That man we were talking about just there, Samoa Joe, he started training with John Cena in the late 90s, in the early 2000s. Everyone, it feels like, has got a connection to the never-seen 17-time world champion. And what if I told you can watch Saturday night's main event, John Cena's retirement match, for free this weekend? Well, you can. All you have to do is get a VPN and change your location to an international territory like here in the UK. Over here in the UK, we don't have Peacock. In the United States, that show's streaming exclusively live on Peacock, which means another subscription service around the holidays when you're spending money anyway. Over here in the UK, all you need is a VPN, like NordVPN, and an internet connection, and you can watch it for free on YouTube, like I will be doing this weekend, and I'll be doing a watch longer and a post show as well. So you can use our link, you can scan our QR code, you can get up to 77% off plus 3 months extra if you use the link nordvpn.com/WN365. That's nordvpn.com/WN365. Links in the video description below. It's pinned in the comment section as well. You can save yourself some money. You can watch Saturday night's main event, John Cena's retirement, for free this weekend on WWE's YouTube channel, and you can support this channel in the process. Your support is much appreciated. Now, I mentioned tonight's going to be a historic one for All Elite Wrestling, and some people may roll their eyes when it comes to that, but legitimately, this night will go down in the history books because we're going to be crowning the inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions this evening. After months of tournament action, the inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions will be crowned tonight when the Babes of Wrath will battle the team of Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Both tag teams have defeated AEW's best to make it to this point and stand as the other team's final hurdle to making history in Atlanta. On Collision, both teams sat down with AEW broadcaster Tony Schiavone to discuss the genuine bonds they formed with their tag team partner and reaffirm that they have the utmost respect for their opponents, but the priority at Winter is Coming is winning at all costs. Will Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron hold the new tag team titles by the end of the evening, or will the names Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa be engraved in the history books forever? Now, there was sort of one surprising team in this final, and I think that was the Babes of Wrath. I know that they've gained popularity. I would have liked to have seen maybe a heel tag team. I would have liked to have seen a team in there that had been teaming prior to this tournament taking place. That is always the case when tag team titles are introduced to any division in any company. Suddenly you have quite a few makeshift teams or teams coming together that suddenly get team names, but you go, well, there have been teams in All Elite Wrestling that were teaming way prior to this tournament beginning. I'm thinking of Anna Jay and Ty Mello. I'm thinking of Sky Blue and Julia Hart of the Triangle of Madness. I would have liked to have seen maybe, the Triangle of Madness team in this final. But we've got the Babes of Wrath, and we've got Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. And, of course, Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa have had a relationship prior to this tournament taking place. I've always felt that the most likely team to win, certainly as the weeks have progressed, is the Timeless Love Bombs and Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. Why? Because it's got Toni Storm in there. I say this most weeks when I do these videos of the major surprises. Toni Storm is one of the biggest stars and one of the biggest success stories that All Elite Wrestling has when it comes to a talent coming over from WWE, completely reinventing themselves, doing something completely original to All Elite Wrestling that they hadn't done before in WWE, and making themselves better, making themselves more popular and having more success. Another example is someone like a Swerve Strickland, who of course has come over, got bigger, got better, got fan support, and elevated himself into a main event level player in All Elite Wrestling. That's something that Toni Storm has done in AEW as well, with the whole timeless persona. And the fact that she dropped the AEW Women's World Championship to Chris Statlander in the manner that she did, it did catch a lot of people off guard at the time. And in retrospect, I think they did it because they planned to her be one half of the inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. Toni Storm is one of the biggest female stars they've got in this company and one of the best original creations they've got in this company. And because of that, they always want her front and center in the women's division holding some kind of championship. That's why she's, a 3-time AEW Women's World Champion, because she's one of the biggest and best stars that she's got. She's reliable, she's bankable, she always goes out there and hits a home run, whether it's a match, whether it's a promo, whether it's just anything being on commentary. So the fact that she's not the AEW Women's World Champion, the fact that she's not going after the TBS Championship with Mercedes Moné, that always said to me that she would probably end up winning this tournament. So I'm going to go with the Timeless Love Bombs, unless something, swervish happens, and I don't mean Swerve Strickland, I mean in terms of like a heel turn or one of the team partners turns on the other. But I don't think that's the case. I think that Tony Khan views Toni Storm as someone that, again, is reliable, bankable, and can make this division a success in All Elite Wrestling. So I think that the Timeless Love Bombs win, but you never know. Maybe the underdogs win this one, and the Babes of Wrath are the inaugural AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions. But I'm going to go with the Timeless Love Bombs here. Next up, we have a Tornado tag match, and enemies now turned tag team partners indeed. We saw it at Full Gear when Swerve Strickland returned. Of course, everyone expected him, including the Ops, to attack Hangman Adam Page. It didn't happen. Instead, he saved his former rival, and now he's going to be his tag team partner later this evening. Can they coexist? I believe the phrase goes. Now, arguably, AEW's most storied rivalry, or one of the most storied rivalries, certainly one of the most violent, one of the most bloodied rivalries in All Elite Wrestling history, makes even new history tonight, a new chapter, as Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland find themselves on the same side for the very first time. Since Full Gear, since Swerve returned, which you can see on the screen right there, the both men have called a bit of a silent truce, haven't they, due to their shared bad blood with Samoa Joe and the Ops. Tonight, Page and Strickland will team up for one night only and take on 2/3 of the AEW World Trios champions in Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata in a Tornado tag team match. The question is, can this strange bedfellows alliance put their differences aside and neutralize their common enemies, or will Hobbs and Shibata capitalize on their opponent's tumultuous past and get the better of them once more? I think, in terms of an outcome here, I think we most likely see Swerve and Hangman get the victory. I'm kind of curious as to where it's going for the AEW World Championship match at AEW World's End later on this month. We have had a three-way match between Swerve, Joe, and Hangman for the AEW World Championship take place before. It was at AEW Revolution back in 2024. And Samoa Joe was the AEW World Champion at the time, and he ended up retaining his title. And I do kind of wonder if they're going to run that back at AEW World's End. It kind of just feels like that's the direction that it might be going. Or, as I've said, is Joe just going to be this transitional champion? Is he going to face Swerve Strickland, and Strickland then defeats him for the title at AEW World's End, similarly to how he defeated him to win his first AEW World Championship back at AEW Dynasty in 2024? You wonder if that's going to take place. I'm not sure to really answer the question, because if it's going to be Swerve versus Joe, then what is Hangman going to be doing? Is it going to be a thing where Hangman has to find two partners? He has to find two partners to go up against Hook, and the rest of the ops for the World Trios Championships, and maybe those partners could be the Young Bucks, maybe one could be Kenny Omega, maybe there'll be, who knows what it could be and who it could be. Maybe one would be Eddie Kingston, as I mentioned earlier on, because of a spin-off of him and Hook going at each other. I'm not sure. But Swerve seems quite focused on that AEW World Championship, but Hangman doesn't seem to be out of the picture. So I think they're successful this evening. I don't think that they're going to be long-term tag team partners, and I think the end goal will be them facing off once again, because like any great rivalry, it has chapters. There are moments when they are on the same page. They have their moments where they have to coexist for the betterment. They have common enemies, so they team up together, but it's not like they're the best of friends or anything like that. Maybe there's a little bit of mutual respect, but at some point, someone's going to turn. Or maybe it's just a case of this time they'll face off as babyfaces. Previously, you had the initial dynamic of Hangman as a babyface, then Swerve as the heel. That kind of flipped over, didn't it? And Hangman's obsession turned him into a heel, and Swerve by that point had become a babyface. So it was Hangman and Swerve with the different dynamic. I guess the other dynamic that they can do, which they haven't really done before, is them both as babyfaces. What happens when they face off against each other, and the rivalry isn't based off hatred or bad blood. It's based off wanting the AEW World title, or it's not personal, it's professional. So maybe that's the direction long-term that it is going in. But as of right now, the tag team partners tonight, and I think they win. Next up, the Continental Classic is set to continue this evening, and Jungle Jack Perry finds himself in a tournament that previously he wasn't even meant to be in. But of course, circumstances have changed for him. Jungle Jack Perry makes his Continental Classic debut tonight after being announced as Darby Allin's replacement in the Gold League. That was after Darby Allin suffered what was suspected to be a head injury. Now, he has said he feels like $1 million, but isn't medically cleared. He's been sort of kept from himself. He was injured in his loss to Kevin Knight on the opening night of the tournament. He was forced to withdraw from the Continental Classic, so Perry looks to make up for lost time and put his first 3 points on the board, but it won't be easy. Of course, he'll have the same thing that others have had in the past when other injuries have happened or taken place. You assume their record. So as I mentioned, Darby didn't have the best record. So Jungle Jack not only has got to get up to speed with the whole tournament in general, but he's got to hit the ground running because he's got a losing record so far. Now, he'll be up against the reigning Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada, the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. And it's going to be a personal encounter after Perry helped thwart an attack from the Don Callis family on the Young Bucks last week. They were both part of the Elite together before Perry disappeared and Okada went towards the Don Callis family. And when it comes to Okada, he's already lost once to Kyle Fletcher, but he does have 3 points off on the board after winning last week. And we'll have to wait and see if he can continue or build some more momentum. As I've said previously, I still think the final of this whole tournament is going to be Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita. I think Okada will eventually win the Gold League. I don't know if he'll finish top. He might finish second, and then he'll win the finals at AEW World's End for the Gold League, or the semi-finals, whatever you want to call it, the league final. And then I think he'll lose to Konosuke Takeshita, because I think you've got the story's there. They've been telling it for months, the tension and the physicality between them both. Okada's firmly the heel, Takeshita's firmly the babyface. Takeshita also won the G1 in New Japan Pro Wrestling earlier this year, so you've got someone that's won the G1 a bunch of times in Okada, won the Continental Classic last year in Okada, the greatest tournament wrestler of all time in Okada, and then you've got the new greatest tournament wrestler, or the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion in Konosuke Takeshita. So you've got the past versus the present. I think that's what it's going to be. And then I think by that point, Takeshita will become a babyface. His popularity is growing. So as far as tonight, I mean, it's the mathematics involved in it, isn't it? I mean, do they have a scenario whereby was Darby Allin going to beat Okada? Maybe, maybe not. But maybe Jungle Jack should beat him. And once again, Okada's getting some doubts about himself. And maybe Don Callis is getting some doubts about Okada. Would that hurt Jack Perry's momentum if he comes straight in, takes a loss? Yes, but I suppose if you're facing Okada, you're largely protected there. And Okada does kind of need the points. But I'm going to go with Okada to get the victory. He has to put up momentum, doesn't he, at some point? And finally, we've got more Continental Classic action as Kyle Fletcher, the Proto Star, goes up against Speedball Mike Bailey. Fletcher looks to build on his perfect record so far. He defeated Kevin Knight, and he looks to defeat his jet speed tag team partner, Speedball Mike Bailey. Bailey has yet to secure his first victory in the tournament as of right now, but I don't think he's going to get it this evening, unfortunately for him. I think what we're going to see when it comes to Kyle Fletcher, I think Fletcher, I don't know if he'll be completely perfect. I don't know if he'll be completely perfect in terms of his record, but as I mentioned with Kazuchika Okada, of course, Fletcher beat him this year. He beat him last year. I think the direction that it'll probably end up going is Fletcher ends up winning the Gold League. Well, he finishes top of the Gold League, Then the semi-finals at World's End will be Fletcher versus Okada. Okada beats Fletcher that time, and then Okada goes on to face Konosuke Takeshita in the final. I think that's probably the direction that it goes in. So Okada finishes second, Fletcher finishes first. Okada beats Fletcher, then goes on to face Takeshita in the finals, and Takeshita is victorious. So it's going to be an all Don Callis affair. I think that one is probably going to go. And then Speedball Mike Bailey, when he'll pick up his victory or a victory, I don't know. Maybe it's against his tag team partner, perhaps. Maybe they go to a draw. I'm not too sure. But yes, I'm going to go with Kyle Fletcher to pick up the victory and make it a perfect record still, with 3 victories in a row, putting him on 9 points. So there you go, guys. That is 5 possible major surprises that could take place night live on AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming. What are your thoughts? What are your predictions? What are your hot takes? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.